Welcome in, everybody. Episode 11 of Inside the Diamond here on X, YouTube, wherever you're tuning in from. I appreciate you stopping by. No Ethan Penn joining me today. It's just me, but I've got a special guest for this episode. My second spotlight of college baseball prospects here, and I've got Texas baseball's Kaleb Freeman, new Longhorn on the show. Kaleb, how are you doing? And how has everything been now that the stress of just having that commitment is just completely gone?
Yeah, man. I'm a big faith guy, so I give all the glory to God. I mean, this is very surreal. Obviously, it's the University of Texas. Growing up, and have to say, I threw, I may have threw the horns down a couple times, but not anymore. Horns up, baby. So I'm super pumped up
Gotta
to get
hope
out there to
about it.
Austin this fall. So
Yeah,
super excited.
that'll be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see you play out there and do your thing out there. What you did at Georgia State this past year and what you've done throughout your entire career has really been inspiring. It's been a crazy journey, and I want to get into all that with you. But something I like doing when I talk to college guys and just prospects in general is try to get back to their roots and see
Yeah.
what truly made them into the baseball player they are today. And at least for me, when I was still playing back in like high school, even there
Mhm.
was always that like little moment of me as a kid playing in my front yard, having a catch with my mom that made me the passionate baseball fan that I am today. And I always like to ask just guys who are pushing for the professional level now, what was that moment or maybe that one memory that you have
Yeah.
from baseball as a kid that just made you a passionate player?
Mhm. So it's a crazy story, but when I was really young, obviously I grew up in Georgia, huge Braves fan.
Hmm.
Chipper Jones is my favorite player. So when I was like 3 years old, I would put pillows like in my living room, and I would make them into bases. And whenever Chipper would hit left-handed, I'd hit left-handed. Whenever he hit right-handed, I hit right-handed. So like, I guess your question or like kind of where is my desire stemming from is because like I want to be to a kid like Chipper Jones was to me, if that makes sense. Like I want to
Yeah.
give that inspiration to a kid because I mean, like you said, my career has been unbelievably challenging. So I don't know. I just kind of want to, be the guy that can help a kid, see that anything is truly possible. So
I love that. I feel like there's so many people that have that type of a story. Even me, when I was starting to watch baseball, my
Mhm.
first team I got into was the '09 Yanks because I'm from New York, and just
Yeah,
that team was for guys my age. That was just everything to us. And I remember my mom's got pictures of it. Like I was squatting down, like with like a mask on, like trying to emulate Jorge Posada, and I wasn't even a catcher. I just loved watching him play, and I
yeah,
would like toss the ball to myself and try to frame it and like act like I was really like getting a pitch from the pitcher or
mhm,
having Mariano Rivera pitch to me, just those moments, like it's so funny how stuff like that as kids just turn us into such passionate baseball people. But that's a really
absolutely.
cool story. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And now, kind of moving into your childhood and your kind of time growing up in Georgia playing baseball, moving into like your high school time now. You were
Mhm,
considered a top 25 player at your position for the high school class in the state of Georgia.
mhm.
You also played football there as well. And I was kind of just wondering what your recruiting process out of high school is more like, because
Yeah.
I feel like for everybody, it's just so different nowadays.
Yeah, so in high school, I wasn't the most recruited player. I was very undersized, and like I think my freshman year, I was well. First off, the doctors told me that I was supposed to only be like 5'8". So thank you Jesus that that didn't happen. But I mean, no disrespect to my short kings out there, but no, I wasn't I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the strongest, so I always had to I had to work, and that was one thing I really loved about Texas is because they want gritty guys like that put it all on the line. And for me, I played every single game in high school like it was my last because honestly, I didn't know if I'd play in college. I had one offer out of high school, and it was University of North Georgia, and everything kind of went on from there. It was just a constant scraping the surface of trying to and as I'm sitting here now, obviously I see all of it coming into fruition, but it was very hard in high school because like I said before, like I was not the highest recruited guy at all. I mean, one offer like out of high school, and that was it. And I don't know. So if a little kid's watching right now, they can see that, hey man, one offer can probably get you somewhere that you never thought you would be a couple years down the road. But
Yeah, all you got to do is make the most out of that one offer,
yeah,
and
for
you
sure.
clearly did. And I wanted to ask you, a lot of people, especially now, I feel like are just gearing towards one sport if they're really good at it,
Mhm,
especially when they're a kid. But you played multiple,
mhm.
and I believe for football, you were even like a very like maybe not very highly ranked player. I would have to check my facts on that, or you can maybe let me know here. But I mean, you were a high school football player as well. So do you
Mhm.
feel like playing high school football and playing other sports helped you in a way develop as just a complete athlete and not just a baseball player?
Oh, 1000%. Because I mean, baseball is so mentally draining. Like, I feel like you have to have that, getaway time. And that's not saying that I don't love baseball. I could play base. If I could play baseball every single day, I would. But I'd like, especially in high school. I mean, all the scouts, they love those multi-sport athletes. I mean, it can bring. I mean, you get around different sports, you get around different skill sets. You learn new things. But I mean, I think the biggest thing was me. It was just like I kind of wanted that getaway from baseball, and I love football, and I'm a go get 'em guy. Like, I loved hitting people. Like, that was my thing. I was like, all that anger from the previous baseball season, I'm about to take it out in the fall, baby. Like, let's
I
go.
love I love that. So you got to be so excited then about going to UT and having that
Oh
football
yeah.
scene there. I mean, that's going to be awesome.
Oh, I was visiting the other day and I saw the football stadium. I was like, I wasn't even on the field. I was just like in the stands. I was like, this place is unreal.
Yeah, my buddy went out there to Austin, I believe, last year and went to their spring game there. And he was like, for a spring game, he's like, that blows anything that we've had attendance wise because we went to FAU. So he was like, any
Mhm.
attendance that we've had for football there
Mhm.
blew it out of the water. And he was like, it
I
was
mean,
such a
that place
cool
is different
experience. And
for
just
sure.
what they do there is really special in terms of just not just football. Every program there just has such
Yeah,
a big culture. And
for
I
sure.
want to get into all this with you here in a bit, but I want to learn more about your journey to
Mhm.
Texas
Mhm.
and moving back to North Georgia where you said that was your only offer. Uh,
Mhm.
Played D2 ball there, and I think you're the first person I've talked to who's actually played at the D2 level. So I was wondering, what your experience was like and what that
Yeah.
grind was really like.
So I going into campus, I kind of got in the because like I had a very good senior year of high school, but I mean, and again, it was high school, but I was young, dumb, and immature way back when. So I was, I kind of thought I was on top of the world. Like walking into Division two, I was like thought I was way better than everybody. I quickly found out that baseball there is very, very good. So, I mean, I had a great experience at UNG. I mean, shout out Tom Cantrell. That's my guy. He just retired actually, so I hope he's enjoying his retirement. But I did make some pretty dumb decisions, which I won't get into. But obviously, everybody probably already knows about it by now. But I mean, UNG, just the freshman stuff. But anyway, UNG was, I have no no bad words to say about any of them. I mean, honestly, if I probably didn't make those decisions, I probably still would have been there just because how much I liked it. But honestly, I think God uses everything for His glory and our good. That's what it says in His Word. So that's what I leaned on, and I honestly I wouldn't change it. So
Yeah, and you played great when you were there. I mean,
mhm,
you talked about the decisions you made, but despite that, hitting 300 and 857 OPS, regardless of what's happening, even off the field, like that's
yeah,
great to be able to do that at any level. You talked about how good the baseball is there, and that's my
mhm.
favorite part about baseball
Yeah,
is
and I
that.
think I think people like to look down on lower levels of baseball, but I'm telling you, like, and I'm sure like maybe people that play in like levels like that will understand. Like, I mean, there's really not that much difference. I mean, obviously, guys are going to have deeper pins, they're going to have higher velos, but I mean, other than that, I mean, guys are still throwing. I mean, we played Georgia College. I remember my freshman year, and they had three starters that were 90-92 that can command all three pitches in the zone. It was just like, dog, like it's real baseball. So, but no, I loved it, man. It was so much fun. Being, I don't know, it's just like that fourth year, like the 4 year college experience. JUCO was very fun too, but
Yeah,
the university experience is, I mean, the support you have, it's awesome.
yeah, and the best part about baseball as a whole, collegiately, is that if you're good, the scouts will find you,
Oh,
and
one thousand percent.
that's what makes playing at those levels so challenging. Is because you, like you kind of already said, you go in, thinking you're on top of the world, but then you get really brought back down to earth pretty
Mhm.
quick. Because
I mean, you look at Lodis at Georgia Tech, man. I mean, that kid's a dog, and he actually played with my roommates over at Augusta
no
last year.
way,
So yeah,
that's awesome.
my roommates from freshman year, they went out to Augusta, and he played with them. So he's
No
a
way.
dog.
That's sick. That's really cool. Uh, but I guess moving down now the year after, you kind of mentioned briefly the JUCO ball level. You love playing there.
Mhm.
Um, Other JUCO guys I've talked to, they've said like the biggest difference in the jump to the D1 level was just pitchers really being able to command the zone a lot better,
Mhm.
which I,
Yes.
I thought was interesting, but also I thought made a lot of sense to me.
Mhm.
But you were a top bat at that JUCO level. I mean, you hit over 1,300 OPS at St. John's River, and I believe that was good for your team's highest back in 2023.
Yes.
And kind of moving from that D2 grind and what that was like. I mean, I always love asking former JUCO players just what that grind was like.
So honestly, it kind of felt like the JUCO life, like it, it, it was a very good fit for me. And that's a good question. And no, I don't think so.
He doesn't think so. We might have to.
I don't think so. Maybe a long lost relative, but um, but going back to what I said, I've always been a super hard worker. I had a scratch and claw for everything that I have, and that's what JUCO is, man. Like you show up, and it's basically like you show up, and you're not going to JUCO for school. Like you're going to JUCO to play baseball. Like that's
Yep.
how it is. And it
Hmm.
was. I remember I had to be there. I think August the 1st in 2023 or in 2022, sorry. So, and then we had our first practice like the next day. Like we practiced from August the 3rd until I was literally doing baseball at St. John's River from August the 3rd until June the 5th after our World Series trip. So, like, I mean, it was a grind, but honestly, like, it was the most, I think the SEC is really fun, but that was by far the most fun I've had playing baseball because when you go to junior college, like most guys are going to be like you because they're just gritty and they grind, and
Yep.
that's like who I am, and that's who all the guys were around me with. And I think I mean, the progressions and how much better I got at baseball, there's no words because it was like being around a group of guys that all they want to do is just get better and they want to win. Like, I mean, you money can't buy that, and it doesn't matter what you do, but I don't know. Overall, like that, I mean, I'm sure you know that I could talk for hours about that, but I loved it so much. And Florida JUCO, I will say, Florida JUCO, where I played, I don't know who you've talked to, but that was some legit baseball. I mean, I saw a kid. He's playing with the Blue Jays right now. I think he's in Double A, but like that kid was gross. He was like 95, 99, like all game with a hammer and a changeup, and he was locating it. So JUCO, obviously you're going to have those, those some teams that it's not going to be as competitive, but I mean for the most part it was very very fun, and I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I love hearing that perspective of Florida JUCO from you because the guys I talked to a lot were Texas JUCO guys, and they actually
Yeah.
came around to FAU to end up playing, and then some went their separate ways. Some ended up
Mhm.
staying, but both talked about kind of what you said, just the grind of
Mhm.
everyone wanting to get better around them was just
Mhm.
what was best for them. And I guess a follow up for that, you have a favorite memory from JUCO ball, because
Mhm.
just being around those guys, it had to be just such a fun time.
I would say, man, so oh yeah, because we never really won, I guess, like a state championship and went to the World Series. Like whenever we did that, like it just the look. I remember because I was just sitting at third base and I was just like praising God. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like we're about to go to the World Series. And I remember Ross Jones, our head coach, he comes up and he hugs me and another dude, and we get dumped with the cooler. And it's like all in my eyes. I can't even see. And my coach is sitting there. He's like, man, you just made me swallow my dip. Oh man, it was a great time. I mean, I have so many memories that I could get into, but that was probably number one. I mean, he's sitting over there about to throw up, and we're all just loving it. Like he was not mad at all. We were all loving it, so it was awesome.
That has got to be the most JUCO story I think anyone's ever told me.
Yeah, for sure.
But we got some St. John's River guys in the SFCBL here, so shout out the Boynton Bucks for joining up here and
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
representing. So we love the JUCO guys here in South Florida. But I'm curious how you went from the JUCO level and then you went to Auburn for a year.
Mhm.
What was that process like in getting originally recruited to the SEC?
So, I mean, like you said, like if you're good, they'll find you, and stats don't lie. I mean,
Hmm.
those guys over at Auburn, they understood, the competitiveness that of the conference that I was in, and the numbers that I put up, and it was basically, and my coach had very good relationships with them. He knew them for a while, so that's kind of how it clicked.
Yeah, that's just a great story there.
Yeah.
I feel like not a lot of people. I feel like people just kind of expect great JUCO bats to end up making it to the SEC level and or
Mhm.
ACC level. They don't really understand what goes into the whole recruiting process. So that's
Mhm.
cool to hear. And I was wondering maybe if you could just go into more about what your season at Auburn was like. I know it probably wasn't everything you maybe dreamed
Yeah.
of, but it for sure had to be just a crazy good learning experience for you as a player.
Oh, and it was. I mean, that was. I remember I was talking on another podcast, with one of my guys over in off the bench. He's a really good dude. And he was basically like, he's a faith based guy, and we were talking about it. It was really tough because I felt as though that I deserved to get a shot, which I never did. But like I said, I have nothing bad to say about those guys. They had to do what they thought was right in the moment, and I can't blame them for that. But honestly, I wouldn't change it because I when I was talking to Coach Schloss on the visit and everything, I was just, he was telling me about, you shouldn't think of stuff happened to you, that it happened for you. And I kind of never really thought of it that way. And I was like, oh, that's really good. And like, because it took me, man, I remember because being at Georgia State this past year, I had to meet with my coaches a lot because honestly, like I was just so mentally drained because I thought my career was over after Auburn. Like I was like, dude, like it's over. Like I don't really know what else to do. Because being that junior guy, I mean, that was my year to sign.
Yeah.
And after hearing all the word around the street, my value and everything at Auburn, it hurt. But like I said, I mean, I've always been learning lessons like playing, but sitting there watching, even though it sucked. Don't get me wrong, it was horrible. I hated it.
Yeah.
But it was needed because it kind of brought me down to earth. Because I
Mhm.
feel like I was always on top of the world, and honestly, I probably wasn't the best team guy starting off, but that Auburn experience really like helped me to be a better teammate and a better person at the end of the day, and that's really all that matters because everybody's going to remember those games that you win, but those friendships that you make on a team, that's what lasts a lifetime, and you can't put a price tag on that. So I'm very grateful for that experience.
I completely agree, and I think that quote's amazing that you were told, and I also heard something that was like rejection is just redirection. And so,
Absolutely.
I really like thinking that way now, especially when something negative happens in my life or something doesn't go my way.
Mhm.
But one moment, or not moment, but stretch of time that I want to look at before you ended up making your way to Georgia State was your summer in 2024. Uh,
Oh yeah.
you hit 977 playing in the Valley League that summer, and being a summer league broadcaster right now, I'm watching these kids currently just grind out a summer, try to put up good numbers to either get noticed in the portal or make a name for themselves going into their school as a freshman.
Mhm.
How pivotal was that summer for you in maybe not your development as a player, but just getting that momentum back and being like, you know what, I am actually a really good baseball player. I
Mhm.
can do this wherever I go.
Yeah, and that's a great question because it's just kind of crazy how God works, because like I got put, in the middle of the fire, wasn't playing, like honestly hated life, really hated baseball. And, going to, the Cannons up in Purcellville, Virginia, man, it was the best decision I ever made because it gave me that love for the game back. The stat sheet didn't really, show what I wanted to, but I mean, I hit the ball hard and, got very unlucky. But most importantly, I made friendships that last a lifetime. Like I remember, going back to the confidence part, my confidence was literally broken after Auburn. I was like, I just didn't think highly of myself at all. And I remember we were playing in Strasburg one day, and I'm just sitting in the cages, and my coach there, he could see that I was upset, and he was like, dude, like he pulled me over to the side. He was like, dude, you got to understand that you're Kaleb Freeman. And I just sat there, and I was like, yeah, like it's hard because this, and he was like, no, stop that. You're Kaleb Freeman, and I ended up going 3 for 3 with 2 home runs that game. So, and I rounded the bases. I rounded the bases on my second time. And he was like, I told you, you're Kaleb Freeman. So it's just awesome, to have people that support you like that, and it was just a blessing, like beyond baseball, that whole summer was a blessing. So I couldn't be more grateful for those guys up in Purcellville.
I love that it brought back that love for the game for you
Mhm.
because if it didn't, I mean, who knows where you would be now?
Yeah.
And it's just that's awesome to hear. And I feel like summers for all these guys are just so fun. I mean, just watching these guys play on a day to day basis, it just looks like they're having fun.
Yeah,
Just
that's what it's
hearing,
all about. Summer
yeah,
ball, it ain't about, it's not like obviously everybody wants to win, don't get me wrong, but summer ball is just about, going out there and, it's just like travel ball in when you're a little kid, just going
yeah,
out there making friends and just finding that love for the game again. So,
yeah, completely agree. And moving on now to that following year to this past season at Georgia State, uh, playing for a home state team in the Panthers in the Sun Belt. You were one of the best bats out of the conference, and I'm just interested to learning more about how you ended up arriving there at Georgia State.
so I entered the portal. I think it was last or whenever it opened last June. I had talked to some other teams, but I just wasn't really getting the love, at all. I was actually kind of shocked because I was like, dude, like I put up very good numbers at St. John's River. I thought that I would get a good shot. And then I remember I was just stretching and rolling out at a game, and I saw that Lars Davis had followed me, and I was like, it's like, oh, Georgia State, huh? In the Sun Belt. I was like, okay. And dude, I mean, I got to talking to them, and I just fell in love with the place. I mean, it gets me pretty emotional thinking about it because that's literally my family for life. I the bonds, obviously the season and the stats and the baseball was great, but I think the biggest thing that I take away from that experience is just the friendships that I made, not only with my teammates but my coaches. Like they're such players, coaches, and I just literally loved how they did everything, and I just fit perfectly in there, and it was just such a God thing. So I'm so blessed.
If you had to describe Sunbelt baseball in like one word, what would you describe that as? Because I feel like not enough people know how good Sunbelt baseball really is.
Oh yeah, so I hold the Sun Belt into a very high regard because I've seen it. I've played a little bit in the SEC, and I played basically at every single level you could possibly play at in college.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, the Sun Belt Conference is legit, and I would say that it is gritty. Like those dudes want to ball, like they ball. And I mean, you look at Coastal. Like I've been saying it forever. Like we
Hmm.
played Coastal, and we played them tight. But I literally told those guys after that season, I was like, that is the best all around baseball team that I've played in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, they did everything the right way. I mean, Southern Miss too; those dudes banged. I mean, even teams like South Al will give you a run for their money, even though they're
Hmm.
finishing at the bottom. Like, I mean, I would put any team in the Sun Belt against anyone because it's great baseball, and people and obviously Sun Belt does get the love, but if people don't really understand the Sun Belt, man, you need to understand because that's some good ball players down there.
Yeah, I think people, like you said, do understand that Sunbelt ball is good, especially in the top half of those standings. But like you said, the bottom half, those teams can give you some real trouble. South Alabama was beating Ole Miss during
Yeah,
midweek games.
I'm telling you, like they're no joke. I mean, every team in the Sun Belt, they all have their piece, whether it's pitching or hitting. Like in some, like Coastal, I mean, they pitch it more than they hit. But Southern Miss, those guys over there, and that's just kind of how it is sometimes. And baseball is a tough sport. Like, don't get me wrong, but the Sun Belt Conference, I
So,
very much enjoyed it. It's legit. I very much enjoyed playing there.
did you have a favorite stadium to play at that maybe wasn't in Georgia State?
Oh man, I think I love Southern Miss because if there's any Southern Miss fans on here, they probably hate me. I got booed. I'll dive deeper into that story so people actually understand, so they don't think I'm
Yeah.
just a douchebag. Because that's what all the Southern Miss fans think. I was just reading a comment on my post because I think the comments are super funny. I like to see what people say. I mean, it doesn't make me feel any type of way. Like I just like to see it's funny. I was reading one. It was like, man, a cocky douchebag. That's like the perfect pick for Texas. And I just sat there and I was just laughing. But I remember it was game 3. I struggled the night before. It was man, their Friday night guy was legit. And I mean, all their pitchers were legit. But on Sunday, kind of just stopped pressing. I was like, look, man, just be you and let's go out there. So I ended up having a really good day. My last at bat, the pitcher he obviously he threw a fastball and I hit it pretty well. And I didn't pip it, didn't anything, ran it right out of the box, and he was staring at me. I swear, he threw the ball and was staring at me all the way down the line. I hit first base. He looked at the ball, and it went over the fence. I said some things I shouldn't have said in the moment, but and then I got booed pretty bad. But I love playing at Southern Miss. Southern Miss was a really really cool spot. That was probably the closest atmosphere to the SEC that I had. I mean, those people come out and they're loud, and I enjoyed it. So,
Yeah, there's some real baseball fans down there in Hattiesburg.
oh
So
yeah,
that
the
that's what
base
that's a really cool story, dude. I feel like when you're playing in the heat of the moment like that, you never should apologize for saying something on the field or whatever. Like even when Liam Doyle was out there saying to the Wake kid like "you're fucked" before he stepped into the
Yeah,
box, like
hey, it's
it,
it's
it's
that
it's
competitiveness
competition,
coming
man.
out of me.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, it was just like you flip the situation on any of those guys. I mean, they would probably do the same thing. And, they got to do what they got to do. The crowd's going to boo. That's how it is. But honestly, I eat it up. I love getting booed. That's my favorite thing ever. I literally got booed and I was smiling. It
Yeah.
was awesome.
Hey, that'll carry you really far as a baseball player, especially today, man. You got to at
Mhm.
least be mentally tough in that regard. But
For sure.
I want to take it back now to, your production. And like you said, the baseball was just so good at Georgia State for you this year. Your
Mhm.
plate discipline was incredible. You were walking more than you were striking out. Not only that, you hit 16 bombs on top of that. I
Mhm.
mean, just how were you able to put together such a just well put together season?
I think, Man, that's a
It's a
it
loaded
sounds
question.
very simple, but it's actually really complex. Like, I think the thing about it was just learning just to be me and just be where my feet are. Because like I said, I'm a big faith guy. I would pray before every at bat, pray before every game, and like my biggest prayer, like especially toward the end of the year, because like I would go into places. Remember when we played Coastal? Like there were so many scouts there, and playing at Georgia State, obviously, it's a unique place to play, playing in the bus lot. So I was sitting over there, my first at bat, and I see like 30 scouts with their phones up, and I'm like, oh no. And I just, it was just one of those things where I was just pressing.
Yeah.
I hit a little bit of a skid there, and it wasn't like a bad skid. Still hit 285 with a home run that weekend, so it wasn't necessarily a terrible weekend. But I think the biggest thing that helped me, just put together, like you said, the complete season was just being me and just knowing that I'm good enough. And because that was a barrier that was super super hard, to climb over. Obviously, since Auburn, but and the fact that I had really good teammates, really good coaches that were always supportive of me and understood, kind of where I've been and like how I was feeling in the moment. So that's kind of what I would say, just being where my feet are. And yeah, I mean, I could give credit to everybody. Like obviously it was a God thing because I thought my career was over, and then I get the year back from junior college, and now I'm going to Texas, and I'm just sitting here, and I'm so blessed, man. I could talk about this for hours, but like I would definitely, the biggest thing is just staying true to who I am and staying in my approach, and just trying to enjoy every single moment because you never know when it'll be your last. So.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like, you found the right place for you to thrive, and you
Mhm.
found the coaching staff that believed in you and instilled that confidence in you back as a player.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's all you need. And that's often the answer when it is such a completely well put together season like you had.
Mhm.
And now I do want to move into talking about Texas a little bit because I'm sure
Uh-huh.
you got to be so pumped about that.
Oh
Uh,
man, man.
what was that process like? And I don't think you were in the portal for very long, because I remember I think that it's been
No.
like a couple weeks.
Yeah. So it started off. I didn't. My parents, I will say, they were not really happy about me going into the portal because they didn't want it to seem like a kind of like a screw you to Georgia State or anything
Yeah, I
like
bet.
that. But I got home after our season ended, and I spent 2 weeks like really thinking about should I enter the portal? Should I this? Should I that? And eventually, I made the decision to enter the portal. Phone was blowing up, and I was talking to a bunch of different teams. A bunch of teams backed out on me because they knew that the draft scare was there, and then I had a potential of getting drafted, especially with the new rule that came out, kind of put a logjam on anything. But man, with Texas, dude, like those coaches over there, I mean, Tulo, Schloss, Kane, I mean, those guys were they were very opening, to me. And, it's kind of like they hold their arms wide open and they show me that they wanted me. And that was the big thing that I was looking for. I just want to be valued, because that's something that the Auburn experience, really led me to believe, because I had like kind of, when I was getting recruited to Auburn, I had those little like, kind of like flick ups that were like, oh, well, maybe I'm not actually wanted here. I kind of stepped on campus. I was like, maybe I'm not the guy. And that was the big thing that I want, even if I do get drafted, like I just want to be valued. And that's what Texas brought to the table. And like beyond obviously the freaking field and, the bright lights of Texas, because it's there. It was just the fact that I could tell that those coaches genuinely wanted me and they cared about, my future and my well-being. And, like I said, that's, you can't put a price tag on that. And I'm just so incredibly blessed to, to be able to represent that university next year.
Yeah, it's such a top tier baseball program, and to be able to be a part of that is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned Coach Schloss already, but I want to kind of zero him and single him out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
How excited are you to be committed to a guy like that? Because there aren't many names that are as legendary as that in terms of coaching in college baseball.
Oh no. I mean, we were just sitting in his office and he was just giving me, like non-biased advice on what I should do. And that was kind of when it clicked, because I remember I was sitting in his office. I was like, dude, you remind me a lot of Tom Cantrell, the guy at UNG for my first year. And it was just like, it was like honestly crazy. I was like, dude, this guy reminds me a lot of him. It was just like everything about him, just kind of clicked with me. We had great conversations, and he was just saying, he was like, look, like, the stuff that happened for you at Auburn. I want to help you get over that, and I want to help you become the best baseball player. The visit was incredible. Like I said, beyond just the city of Austin, because if you just looked at it in that way, you're like, dude, it's a no brainer. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Texas is a no brainer, but
absolutely.
there's a lot of different things, that worked into it. Tulo's a great dude. I feel like me and him are very similar in our work ethic. He was telling me stories about how he had a scratch and claw for everything, and I was like, well, that's me. So, so I mean, Slosh is such a good dude, man. I mean, everything about what he brought to the table, I felt like that's what I needed. So that's when I, thought it would be, the best option for me to pull the trigger. So.
That's great. And I mean, he's really just taken that program to another level. It's hard to elevate Texas in any athletics, like in any athletic sport, but
Mm-hmm.
to do what he did in his first year at Texas, it was really remarkable to see. And now that you'll be playing for him there, that's going to be so much fun to watch.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but we talked about your time at Auburn, and now this is your second time in the SEC. Is there? And I mean, since then you've undoubtedly taken so many jumps in your game.
Mhm.
So you're such a different player, as you could probably agree with going into your time at Texas now. But is there anything you're looking to kind of improve on, or something that you maybe talk to the coaching staff that you want to work on as soon as you get there?
I would say definitely my mental game because, like I said, like baseball is it's just a mental grind. Like you hear all the time, people are like, baseball is like 99% mental. Like especially when you get, to the SEC and in that top tier level of collegiate baseball. Like talent is not what separates you. Like big league talent, like the big leaguers and then the guys that play in the SEC that are very successful. It's not talent. It's all right here, and that's one thing that that I've had to focus on my entire life because I'm a perfectionist. I've had to grind for everything that I've had. So like I'll have an at bat. I'll hit a home run one at bat, and then I'll roll over a pitch I know I should have crushed. I'm like, Dad, gummit. Like I'm super angry, and it's just the thing. Like again, like I said at Georgia State, that's what helped me is just being right where I am in the moment and enjoying everything. And that's another conversation I talked to Slosh about, and it was just about I just want to work on my mental game and just truly enjoying the moment. And he said he was like, look, man, I'm gonna help you with this, and we're gonna get you going. I was like, let's go, hook 'em, baby.
That's awesome. I love that story. But one question I also had for you, and this kind of going back to something you also said about your parents when you entered the portal. You said they didn't want it to be like kind of this like big middle finger to Georgia State or whatever, and
Yeah,
that's how a lot of people view the portal nowadays.
yeah.
And even if you're a fan, it's hard not to. But I'm really interested from the player's perspective. What are
Mm.
your thoughts on the portal? Because all these kids that are playing the summer league that I'm covering right now, say solid 75% of them are probably in the portal.
Mhm.
And it's good for these kids to go out and find a new home for themselves. But
Mhm.
I'm really just wondering what the player perspective is on the transfer portal and what you think about it.
So that's a tough topic because it has its goods and it has its bads. Obviously, like I mean, I'm so blessed, going back on Georgia State, to kind of clear the air on that. The coaches were very supportive of me. They thought it was the right decision, especially with how baseball is now, man. Like I mean, it's just tough because all the best players, are getting pulled into the SEC, and those mid-major guys are kind of left in the dust. But with how baseball is now, I would have to support the portal because at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you and your career. And that was kind of the decision that led me to enter the portal because I knew that at the end of the day, it was like I need to put myself in the best position. Obviously, it sucks, leaving those guys that are like family to you, but I mean, that's just how baseball is. I mean, I think there was what like 5,000-6,000 players in the portal, something crazy like that. Like
Mhm.
it was unbelievable. But I mean, that's just how it is, man. Like everybody's trying to go make a name for themselves, and they want to be in the best conference in the country to do it. So I mean, I don't have any judgment at all about it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I do for sure agree with you got to do what's best for your career. I mean, at
Mm,
the end of the day, I would want someone I'm close to do what's best for them, especially in this
mm,
day of NIL and especially baseball people. You're not getting drafted very high. Your signing bonus isn't really going to help you live for very long in today's
yeah.
economy. So you got to if you can extend your career, earn some NIL too, like that. I'm
Mhm,
all for that. I think
mhm.
it also helps college baseball. It makes the product more fun to watch. So
It does. I mean, because obviously you get into the SEC, and that's where the best players in college baseball are.
yep.
Like, and that's just how it is, and that's what makes it the big leagues of college baseball. Like, it's just, and that's what makes it so fun because, like, with me, I love when I face failure. Like, I've learned, and that's like my biggest advice for anybody that's watching right now. If you're a young kid, like, learn to embrace failure. Like, that's how you succeed at the next level, and that's how you will be the best. Because when you can embrace failure, you can look failure right in the face, and just be like, all right, bring it on. That's when you're going to be the best. And, that's just kind of my take on it. So
Absolutely. And I guess for the portal, this is more for other sports, but the one thing I wish that it didn't do was take away the old like teams that been together for 4 years. Like
yeah.
I feel like we're never going to see a team that will get to Omaha, because I feel like even Murray State, if I was really to break down their roster, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are probably first year players on that team.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's just taken away this bond of these guys who were from
Hmm.
freshman year to senior year together, and now they're making a push for Omaha. It takes that away, but I mean that's probably so rare anyway. So
I mean, that was my downside to it, because like I said, like the teammates that, being a good teammate and making those friends, and making even those best friends on those teams, that's something that money can't put a price tag on. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for your career. And I mean, with a transfer portal and that opportunity open, like, you just got to do what you got to do.
yeah,
So
it's a career at the end of the day, like you said. If
yeah,
you're trying to make money doing it, if you're not, it's one thing. But if you
yeah,
are, there shouldn't be any,
yeah,
I guess, repercussions to you for wanting to do that. I think that's
for
totally
sure,
fair.
for sure.
And now getting more into kind of the pro career aspect of what
Hmm.
you will be doing here eventually. You mentioned to me you're prepping for the MLB draft right now.
Hmm.
Um, I guess, just what does that look like? Because I don't think a lot of people may understand. Is it a lot of just like cage work and just, hitting, or is it a lot of like strength training? What are you more putting an emphasis on as we lead up to July?
It's I think it's like all of those combined. It's basically just like an off season. You're just, when I'm in the position that I'm in, I feel like I'm in a pretty good position. I've been blessed by God, beyond measure. I'm just sitting there. I basically give you like my day. This is what I did today. So I woke up, went and hit, got some swings in, took a little bit of ground balls and lifted and threw a little bit. That's basically, what it is. Just making sure you're staying sharp on all your little skills. So, I mean, because if I were to get drafted, and I go play pro ball, it's like, dude, you get drafted, and then 2 weeks later, I'll probably be in affiliate ball playing baseball again. So I got to make sure that I stay sharp. See velo off the machine, making sure my swing feels right, making sure I'm staying good in the infield and catching and outfield, since I freaking play everywhere. So you just got to make sure you stay sharp on all those little those skills that you have to have to be successful at the next level. So.
Yeah, that I like that you went into your little day there. That was definitely helpful for me at least.
Mhm.
But you mentioned that you're playing infield, outfield, and that's a known part about your game. But did Schloss maybe tell you what he's expecting out of you in the field? Are you going to pivot to one infield or the outfield, or is he like you're an amazing utility guy? We got to keep you that way.
So he was big on me because of the utility part, especially with the 34-man roster coming out now. Like, you need guys that can play. You can plug and play in any position. I think the word right now is that I will be probably staying in the infield and playing a little bit outfield, and I'll get the opportunity to catch. I don't think that, from the conversations that we had, I don't know if catching will. I will get an opportunity to catch, but I don't think that that's what he wants me to do primarily. Just because, like, you catch every day, you may lose some feel for the barrel, and that's my biggest tool, is the hit tool. So,
Yep.
um, yes, sir.
Yeah. No, that's cool to know. Honestly, the fact that you're able to do all of that is unbelievable to me. Like seriously, just unbelievable. Uh, But honestly, I think that's all I got for you. I know I said I was going to keep you for about half an hour here. We're almost at 40 minutes, so I don't want to take up too much of your time today.
No, it's no worries at all.
Yeah, but this was so much fun to be able to come on, to have you come on and just catch up with you. You've been a big supporter of at least my personal work for the whole
Mhm.
2025 season, so I appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
just giving your time today. I mean, when you're prepping for the draft, you're prepping to maybe go out to Austin here. Uh, we appreciate it, and to all the over 300 people watching, thank you for tuning in and for just helping us spotlight a guy like Kaleb, who honestly just really deserves it. Kaleb, I love doing these mid-major spotlights the most,
I
like especially
appreciate
for
it.
the guys that are transferring out into the SEC, because people should know about you before you even start playing at that higher level. So
Hmm.
I absolutely love it. But anything else you want to leave the people off with before we wrap it up for today?
Man, I just want to say that I'm so blessed. Thank you for all you guys that are watching and tuning in, man. To God be the glory, and hook 'em, baby.
Welcome. Hey, we'll be seeing you guys here on Inside the Diamond whenever we see you next. Gonna try and get Ethan back here for an episode here this week. But hopefully we can get Kaleb back on here at some point, maybe after the
Absolutely. Hey,
draft.
just let me know. Let me
Yeah,
know.
we'll be not the last we have a Kaleb on here. So thank you to all watching. If you're watching the replay, I appreciate it. let me know what you thought about Kaleb on the show. But I thought this was great. This was a lot of fun. And we'll see you guys whenever we see you next. But have a great rest of your day.